Ever heard of a car so legendary it's practically a celebrity?
I think I know where you're going with this.
Today, we're diving deep into the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL.
Ah, the 300SL. Now there's a car that embodies the post-war era. Ambition, innovation, a touch of, well, rebellious charm.
Right. It's like the world was saying, okay, we're done with war, time to have some fun.
Exactly. And what better way than with a car that was just different?
So picture this. It's the 1950s, everyone's obsessed with speed, new tech, and this car, this 300 SL, just explodes onto the scene.
It turned heads back then, and it still does today.
But it's more than just a pretty face.
Oh, absolutely. There's a story here.
A story that starts, actually, on the racetrack.
Exactly. Mercedes-Benz back in the racing game in '52 with the W194.
W194, that name doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it?
No, not quite as catchy as 300SL. But it's the car that started it all.
So what was so special about this what was it again?
The W194. Think of it this way. Imagine a car built around a super strong but lightweight skeleton of tubes.
Sounds a little bare bones? No.
Well, that was the point. This design, it was all about speed, agility, every ounce mattered.
Okay, I get it. Less weight, more speed. But I'm guessing fitting doors on a skeleton of tubes is a bit tricky.
You're way ahead of me. See, regular doors. Not going to happen with this design.
Because how'd they solve that little dilemma?
You got creative, like really creative.
Enter the Gullwing doors.
You see, necessity really is the mother of invention. Those upward swinging doors, they weren't just a style statement, although they were definitely stylish.
Oh, they were stylish, all right, but they were also practical.
Totally. They were crucial to the car's lightweight design, and they played a key role in its aerodynamics.
Form and function in perfect harmony.
Exactly. But let's not forget, the W194, it was built to race.
And race it did. Didn't this car rack up some serious wins?
Oh, yeah. Big time. The Carrera Panamericana, the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Those are some legendary races.
This car conquered them all. It proved itself not just stylish, but a serious contender.
Okay, so we've got this race-winning car, but it's not exactly street legal, right?
Yeah.
So how did it make the jump from the track to, well, becoming the icon we know as the 300 SL?
That's where Max Hoffman comes in. This guy, he had a vision.
Max Hoffman, the car whisperer.
He was an importer, but more than that, he had this knack for spotting cars with, star power, and he saw it in the W194.
He saw a race car and thought people would drive this to the grocery store.
Not just any people. He saw the American market, and he knew they were hungry for something special, something luxurious, something powerful, something different.
And the W194, with a little bit of tweaking, was that something different?
Precisely. And Hoffman, he was so sure of this car's potential, he made Mercedes an offer they couldn't refuse.
Spill the beans. What was the offer?
He guaranteed he could sell 1,000 units, 1,000 of a road-going version.
Whoa. Talk about confidence. That's a bold move.
Mercedes, to their credit, they recognized the gamble, but they also recognized the opportunity.
So they took the gamble.
They did. And in 1954, the world got its first glimpse of the 300 SL at the New York Auto Show.
I can only imagine what that was like, seeing this car, this marvel of engineering and design, for the first time.
It was an event. The buzz, the excitement, it was electric. People had never seen anything like it.
Okay, fast forward. I'm at the auto show. What am I seeing? What makes this car, this 300 SL, so special?
Where do we even begin? The body, for one, sleek, low-slung. It just exuded speed.
And those doors.
Of course, those doors. But it wasn't just about looks. The 300 SL was a masterpiece of engineering, too.
Give us the technical details. What were they working with?
Okay, so the body was primarily steel, but to keep things light, those Gullwing doors, aluminum.
Smart. Every ounce counts.
Right. But for those who wanted the ultimate in lightweight luxury, there was an option for a full aluminum body.
Fancy. Must cost a pretty penny. But let's be honest, those Gullwing doors, as cool as they are, I imagine they'd be a pain in a tight parking spot.
You're not wrong. Getting in and out of a 300 SL, it was an art form. Graceful, it was not. And forget about power windows. You were doing that the old-fashioned way.
But who needs creature comforts when you're driving a work of art, right? But speaking of art, this car wasn't all show, was it?
Definitely not. Under the hood, the 300 SL packs some serious power and some serious innovation.
All right, hit us with the specs. What was powering this beast?
We're talking a 3.0-liter six-cylinder engine.
Okay, I'm following so far, but break that down for us regular folks. What made this engine so special?
Picture this. Back then, most cars used carburetors for their engines, but the 300SL,
Don't keep us in suspense.
it had a direct fuel injection system, a world first for a production car.
Seriously, wasn't that tech usually reserved for, like, heavy-duty trucks and stuff?
Exactly. It was practically unheard of in a sports car.
So why do it? What was the advantage?
This system, developed by Bosch, it injected fuel directly into the cylinders.
It sounds complicated.
It was, but it was brilliant. It meant more precise fuel delivery, which translated to better performance, and surprisingly for a sports car, smoother running.
So more power, but also more refined.
Exactly. We're talking 212 horsepower, which was almost unbelievable back then.
This car was a rocket. But it wasn't just about raw power, was it?
You're right, there's more to this story. The 300SL wasn't just a head-turner, it was an absolute dream to drive.
So we left off talking about how this car, this 300SL, wasn't just a show pony. It was actually amazing to drive.
Oh, it was more than amazing. It was an experience, a visceral experience.
Okay, I'm game. Talk to me about what it felt like to get behind the wheel of a 300SL.
Imagine, you've managed to gracefully, or perhaps not so gracefully, slide yourself under that low roofline.
Those Gullwing doors, right. Not exactly designed for easy entry.
Exactly. But once you were in a cockpit, a symphony of leather, metal, and anticipation.
I can only imagine. So, you're settled in. What's next?
You reach out, grip the thin-rimmed steering wheel. No power steering here. This was pure mechanical connection between you and the road.
Man, they don't make them like that anymore.
And then the engine, the sound, it was like a symphony of finely tuned parts coming to life.
Music to a car enthusiast's ears.
Oh, absolutely. But it wasn't just about the sound, it was the feeling. The 300SL, it demanded your attention.
I've heard stories about the suspension, how it wasn't exactly a smooth ride.
Let's just say you felt every bump in the road. But that was part of the charm. You were connected to the car, to the road, to the experience.
Sounds like it was a workout driving this car.
In a way it was, but it was exhilarating. You had to be engaged. You had to be present. Every moment behind the wheel was a conversation between you and the machine.
So not your average grocery getter, then.
Definitely not. This was a car for those who craved a pure driving experience. Raw, visceral, unforgettable.
And today, well, I can only imagine what a car like that would go for these days.
Let's just say a pristine 300SL, it's a collector's item. We're talking millions.
Millions, wow. Not your average used car price tag.
Not even close. And it's not just the purchase price, it's the upkeep. Parts, maintenance, repairs, we're talking a serious investment.
So owning a 300SL, it's a labor of love.
Oh, absolutely. But for those who have the means and the passion, it's an investment worth making. It's about preserving a piece of automotive history.
Keeping a legend alive.
Yeah.
But the 300SL wasn't the only car Mercedes was developing during this time. They had another trick up their sleeve, something even more extreme.
Ah, you're talking about the 300 SLR. Now, there was a car built for one thing, speed. Pure, unadulterated speed.
We've got to talk about this 300SLR then. Give us the lowdown what made this car so special.
Take everything you know about the 300SL, the power, the innovation, and then crank it up a notch. The 300SLR, it was the 300SL's wilder, more powerful sibling.
So even more extreme than the 300SL. I'm having trouble even imagining that.
The 300SL, it had to balance performance with everyday drivability. The 300SLR, it could throw that balance right out the window. It was built for racing, period.
Yeah, this it did, right?
Oh, yes. The Mille Miglia, the Targa Florio, legendary races, and the 300 SLR, with drivers like Sterling Moss and Juan Manuel Fangio behind the wheel, dominated them.
Those are some big names going up against some serious competition.
The 300 SLR, it wasn't just competitive, it was in a league of its own.
A legend in its own right.
Absolutely. But like the 300SL, the 300 SLR, it represented something bigger than just racing.
What do you mean?
It was about pushing boundaries, about innovation, about the relentless pursuit of performance. It's a spirit that continues to inspire even today.
So these cars, the 300SL, the 300SLR, they weren't just machines, they were symbols of an era.
Exactly. They represented a time of boundless ambition, of pushing the limits of what was possible.
It's wild to think about how much these cars pushed the limits of what was possible back then.
Oh, absolutely. They weren't just building cars, they were redefining what a car could be.
And it's not just about the engineering either. It's the way these cars captured the spirit of their time.
You're right. The post-war era, it was a time for dreaming big, and these cars embodied that perfectly.
So let's talk about that legacy a bit. Because the 300SL in particular, it's become this cultural icon.
Right.
Oh,
without a doubt. That car, it transcended the automotive world. It became a symbol of aspiration, elegance, even a touch of rebellion.
It's funny, you don't usually associate rebellion with Mercedes-Benz, but the 300SL kind of pulls it off.
It does, doesn't it? It had this aura, this mystique. That's probably why you saw it everywhere. In films, on posters, it seeped into popular culture in a way that few cars ever do.
It's like the definition of cool, even all these years later. But let's not forget the 300 SLR. Its legacy might be a bit more under the radar, but it's just as important, isn't it?
Absolutely. The 300 SLR, it's a testament to Mercedes' racing pedigree. It shows what they could achieve when they really pushed the limits of performance.
And they pushed them hard.
Hmm.
Didn't this car dominate some of the most legendary races of all time?
It did. The Mille Miglia, the Targa Florio, these were grueling races that tested both car and driver. And the 300 SLR, it rose to the challenge time and time again.
And it's fascinating how these two cars, the 300SL and the 300 SLR, came from the same lineage but took such different paths.
Right. One a road-going icon, the other a track-focused beast. But they both shared that same DNA, that same commitment to pushing boundaries.
And that's what makes their legacy so enduring. They remind us that innovation often comes from embracing the unexpected, from daring to be different.
Exactly. The 300 SL with its audacious design, the 300 SLR with its relentless pursuit of speed. They weren't afraid to challenge conventions. And in doing so, they left an indelible mark on automotive history.
And a legacy that continues to inspire today. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Mercedes-Benz's high-performance icons, I think the message is clear. Never be afraid to dream big, to chase those audacious goals.
Because you never know. Your own 300 SL might be just around the corner.
And on that note, we'll bring this deep dive to a close. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those engines revving.